Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Wednesday, the 5th of February. And before we kick off, I have to say that this is a video for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or any advice intended whatsoever. It's only for educational to see how and to show you how I use technical analysis and how you can also add it to your trading and investing. And again, there's no advice or recommendation mentioned doing this or intended. All right, let's start with Google that announced earnings in the aftermarket. It disappointed the investors, and aftermarket it was so down between 5 and 7%. I think it closed about 7% lower in the region around 193, indicating with this horizontal line here. So let's see where it opens later today. It could be a bit under pressure. However, we are still in a bullish trend. It will be interesting to see where we end, but to really turn the sour, it really needs to drop much further. So maybe some buyers will come back in and think it's a bit of a bargain, but let's see that. But at least in this region here, we are still in a bullish trend, also medium term on the weekly, as you can see. S&P 500, and let's zoom in here, pushed higher yesterday. Pre-market, we are down a little bit, probably also because of Google or Alphabet. But we are still in a bullish trend. We are still above the cloud, still positive sentiment on the RSI. For now, it's merely just a correction before we get into a really negative mode. Well, it has to take out the cloud here below the 100 moving average, and then we have some strong support here around 5,780 level. Nasdaq, also fairly strong day yesterday, still trying to close the gap up to the 21,738. We are a little bit lower here pre-market, but let's see where we are when we get to the evening. Key support here, 20,974. The Dow Jones that actually formed this bearish engulfing here Friday last week. Still trying, if we get Dow Jones back above it, close above it, it's really cancelled. It's not the most perfect one, but nevertheless it's there. You should be just keep an eye on it. But support here at 43, 373. Still positive sentiment on the RSI. In Europe, we saw EuroStoxx50 also a little taking something back here, trying to close the gap up to this the doji pattern here, this doji candle here on Friday. If it can close above, then we are likely to push higher, and there is some indication we could see that scenario. We are a little bit stretched, I would say, but there's still positive sentiment, and there was no divergence on the RSI, indicating we could see higher levels in the week to come or so, or maybe 2 weeks. A little bit lower pre-market here, but we can see the future bounce from the 5,100 a few days ago. DAX also had a fairly good day yesterday, trying to close this gap here. If it managed to close the gap and close above 21,800, then I think we'll see a push above 22,000. Positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating we are likely to push that higher. Here pre-market we are a little bit lower, so let's see if what's going on later today. If it takes out these lows here, and let's just draw a horizontal line at 21,077, we could see a deeper correction down to around 20,500. Novo Nordisk has released earnings this morning. There's so far no market reaction here just prior to market open. It was a little bit weak lately, I would say. However, if we're looking at the weekly chart, which I've been showing so many times over the past few months, we can see we are probably in a consolidation phase here around the 600 level. It's spiked to 525. If it can get back above 663, that spike up there, well, then it could establish a bullish trend. I think maybe we could find a base, but I want to see how the market reacts today. But I think we are a little bit stressed in terms of the selling pressure. We reached the target of the shoulder pattern up here, and then some spike below the 200 moving average. And there is divergence on the RSI, both on the weekly, and as you can see in the daily, values were rising, but market declined further. So I think we have found a base, but this is not a recommendation to buy. I want to see how the market reacts today. Euro dollar bounced strongly after spiking lower early Monday morning, late Sunday, early Monday morning. A very strong bounce indeed, actually above the 61.8 retracement, a little bit further than I expected. We could now see it test the 786 retracement at 104.48.50 level, but we have the 55 moving average giving a hard time there. However, if it takes out 105.35, well, then there's potential up to 106 and a quarter. So really key levels to watch out for. If it's being rejected, it could slide back lower, so keep an eye on that. Sterling dollar, also called cable for reason, very close to spiked or bounced to the previous little peak here in January. After this bounce, 125 and a quarter, 125.25. If it moves above that, well, then there's not really much stopping it. There's a little bit of resistance, and let's just add a horizontal line to that in the region of that was around there, around 126. If it's being rejected, it will start sliding back lower. Euro sterling, that really got hit to start the week here. As we talked about yesterday, it will probably be dancing around in this region here around 83. At the 786 retracement here at 83, I think we could start slowly crawling higher if we get back above the cloud, and if we get back above 83 and a half, I think we'll see it bouncing fairly strongly indeed. So let's see. I will remove this one and I will add a new one to say, okay, this is how it goes. Bounce to 50%. I think we could get back up to 83, just a bit around 84. Dollar yen has taken out early session this morning here. The support at 153.75. I think we'll see that it's dipping down to the 61.8 and 152.55. Where we have the 100 moving average coming up, giving some support, and the 200 also. So that would be key. Will it bounce from there, or will it continue lower? Currently negative sentiment on the RSI, and let's remove this one because now it's not that interesting anymore. This is the what is interesting. Will it close below 40 threshold? It will indicate lower levels, potentially down to 151, 150, 80 level, which is the 786 retracement. But I expect some strong support in this region here with the 100 moving average coming up. Euro yen. It did spike lower Monday morning, bounced a little bit, but we are in a bearish trend. And if it takes out 158, well, then there is potential down to the 156 level right here. All moving averages basically declining, 100 just slightly sideways, but there is a downside pressure, and downtrend seems to be confirmed at least short term. Aussie yen, key support here at 95.5, still holding on. Did spike lower Monday. If it takes out another time, then I think we'll see it push down to 94, 93.65 level. And sterling yen, we have also a weaker spike lower here Monday, but I think we'll see another push. Negative sentiment on the RSI is indicating we are likely to see lower levels, and most moving average, we have 55 and 21 pushing it lower at the moment. Aussie dollar, very strong bounce after dipping below the falling trend line there. I think we could see a bounce possibly up to 63.35, but let's add a Fibonacci level here and see where we could potentially push to. We are above the 61.8. We are approaching 786 retracement at 62.80. that will be tested, but for Aussie dollar to go bullish, it needs to close above 63.35. Dollar Canada, there has been a lot of volatility in dollar Canada. It's continuing its decline or collapse after it spiked much higher above 148 or to 148. Support around 142.75 area. We have the cloud areas giving some support. We have the 55 moving average giving support. So expect a bounce from here. If it takes it out and dips below, also dips below this little spike down there, 142.60, then we could see a push down below 142. But I think we'll see a little bit of a bounce here. Sterling Canada also collapsed after a massive move, or starting the week at high low above 182, setting back. We could see setting it back further, but if it starts crawling back above 180, then expect it's trying to push up towards 182 again. But if it closes below the cloud area here, we could see a push down to 177.45, which is the 61.8 retracement. We also have the 200 moving average coming up. Euro-Swiss, that spiked lower Monday morning to support here around 93.35. It's currently below the rising trend line there, but key will be, can this area hold around 93.30, 35, or will we bounce back? And the RSI is telling us we will bounce back. We are in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence. And if it starts crawling back above 94.5, I expect it tries to get back to 95. But for a couple of days, I think we could see it trading around the 94 area. Dollar Swiss, also total collapse after spiking much higher Monday morning, where there was a little bit of a panic in a fairly illiquid market, at least early session. Spiked higher above 92, then collapsed, and we also got back to the below the 91 level, and there's some support here at 90.20. Could test it, I think. Could bounce off. We have the 55 coming up, giving some support here, but could spike a little bit lower. So let's see. That's really volatile times. But for dollar Swiss to resume downtrend at least below 89.65, that could really rock the boat lower. The dollar index, almost a similar pattern. Didn't get all the way up to 110. Before collapsing, and we're now back below 108.35 support level, giving some support here at 55 moving average. I think we will start finding some solid ground around current levels. Excuse me. And then we will be stuck in this range here for a while. If it starts moving back above 108 and 108.40, then I think we'll slowly crawling higher. Really hard to predict at the moment with this massive volatility and collapse there. Moving on to gold, that is pushing higher here yesterday and today towards 2,900, and you can see I have a lot of Fibonacci levels on gold. We have this one here that is measured from the peak of the triangle pattern. You have the triangle pattern here and to the bottom, as indicated by this vertical arrow. I have added that arrow to that, and then it gives rule of thumb potential to 2,932. 786 of that, we are approaching that, which is 2877. We also have the 200% of this correction phase here that is giving around 2869. And we are likely to reach that area fairly shortly. You can see it reached all the other ones. So very strong bullish move on gold, likely to push higher also, as shown on the weekly. Here we can see really pushing higher at the moment, despite building up some divergence. Silver also is breaking higher, and now above 32, taking out these peaks here. So there's potential higher to 33 and higher. So really following through there, really strong movements. And as long as we stay above 31, there is a strong potential upside. Copper is also pushing higher after spiking Monday to the 61.8 retracement. I think we will see 447 being tested maybe this week, maybe next week. It is sometimes struggling a little bit, but positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating it to be tested. Volatility again this morning and yesterday in the crude oil business here. WTI spiked just below the 786 retracement and just around $71, and has now bounced. And I think it will bounce. There's still positive sentiment on the R side. Didn't close below 40 threshold, but it needs to get back above 75.12. Then it will establish a bullish trend. So keep an eye on those levels. I will actually just adjust this one here, then we can see it right there. I'll say 75.15, then we are on the safe side, more on the safe side. I would say we're never on the safe side. Then we have Brent crude oil bounced also from the 786 retracement at 74.26, trying to get back above 76 level, but really needs to get high up. The interesting thing is that we are above the cloud. Positive sentiment on the R side, so I think we'll see Brent crude oil pushing lower now after the bounce. Dutch TTF gas, European gas, well, has this stalling kind of top and reversal like pattern, but it's not convincing, and we are still having some positive sentiment on the R side. I think we could see it pushing higher towards the 55.5, 56.5, maybe a little bit higher. Later, we have looked at that so many times. Just let's to recap, we can see how on the week there's still room up to this level. The Henry Hub gas, despite being very cold in euros, but apparently it was expected because for months the market has been going higher. We got from $2 a few months ago and got up to above $4. Then we collapsed and found some ground here just around the $3. I think we'll still see correction up to 3.5, but if it takes out to 297, we could see further collapse in the US NatGat price. Treasury yields and the US 10-year Treasury yields, a really interesting development this morning, where we are penetrating once again the 450 support level and neckline, and it could unleash this shoulder or confirm this shoulder head shoulder pattern. If we stay below, well, then there's potential down to 438, which is the 138.2 projection of from the neckline to the top of the head. It is also around the 61.8 retracement of the entire uptrend from the past couple of months on the December and January. If it takes out, well, there is risk down to this region around 430. So that will, of course, be good for a lot of consumers and the market in general. But let's see where we end the day. If we bounce back and closes back above 450 and gets back above 467, then the shoulder head shoulder pattern has been demolished. On the 2-year, also a little bit lower, but 415 is key support. And moving on to the European markets, where we have the, let's get up to there we are. We have the European 10-year or Euro 10-year dancing around the 786 retracement, this falling trend line here, just around 238, a little bit lower. Key support here at 231, 232. If it takes out 231, well, then we are really in a bearish trend. And UK, well, support here around 440, very strong support here, where we had this gap. I think we'll bounce from here and start moving higher. But if we push below 440, well, then we're looking at 435. And finally, on cryptocurrencies, very indecisive. Bitcoin at the moment, I will actually say we are in a sideways trading range. Could be a double top pattern if it takes out this support here around 90,000. But for now, it's still holding on a little bit. So keep an eye on these levels here at 90,000. Ethereum seems to have found a little bit of solid ground around 2,700, but we are in a bearish trend. and we could push lower, but I think we will, for at least, crawl a little bit higher towards 3,000, but it needs to get back above 3,000 at least to establish a bullish trend. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day, and talk to you again tomorrow.